everyone, this is Dawn, and today we're going to make resurrection cookies. We're back in my kitchen, and something different to do today. We're all at home. You might have kids at home, you might be by yourselves, and I thought these cookies would be a perfect opportunity to help us engage more with the story of the resurrection and to remember how the life of Jesus has profoundly affected each of our lives. And so this is a very simple recipe which I will put together and include so you can download it. It uses almost all ingredients that you should probably already have in your house. This is not meant to go to the store. So I think that's my basic thing. It's hard. We're all struggling through this time, and so I like this because it distracted my mind a little bit, but also each of the ingredients is meant for us to reflect on the story of the passion and the resurrection of Jesus, and so it's great. So the very first thing to do, I should tell you, this is just a basic meringue cookie, and it's not hard. It's anybody can do this. So the first thing to do is to preheat your oven to 300 degrees. That's very important to do at the beginning. Don't wait till right before, because basically what's going to happen is it needs to be preheated, so you put the cookies in and then you turn it off. So it needs to be nice and warm at 300 degrees. Okay, so the first ingredient you need are, well, you don't need these, but the first ingredient it's called for is pecans. If you don't have pecans, which is likely, don't worry about it. You could use another type of nut or no nut at all. Part of the reason it's in this recipe is because of what it symbolizes. So you take pecans and you put them in a Ziploc bag, and then you sort of beat them with a rolling pin or a spoon or some sort of thing just to break them up into pieces. And this portion of the recipe is to remind us that Jesus, during his crucifixion, after his arrest, he was beaten and abused, and so this is what that point symbolizes. So pecans, 1 cup of pecans is that, so you set that aside. And then the next ingredient is 1 teaspoon of vinegar, just plain vinegar. Before you put it in the bowl, if you want to smell it and invite the people that are with you to smell it. The vinegar is a reminder of while on the cross, Jesus, who was thirsty, cried out, and they put vinegar on a sponge and gave him vinegar to drink. So that goes in the bowl. And then we have 3 egg whites, just plain egg whites. Eggs remind us of life, chicken eggs, especially this time of year with Easter eggs. The eggs are to remind us of new life and the life that Jesus gave us by his death on the cross. So those go in the bowl with the vinegar. And then a little salt. So if you want to, or have the people with you, just taste a little bit of salt to remind us of the tears that were shed by Jesus' followers, and that the tears that we shed on ourselves, especially at this point, that we're not alone, that Jesus is with us. And so if you just take a small pinch of salt and put it in the bowl, and then 1 cup of sugar. The sugar, this is the sweet part of the story. Everything before this has been a little bit sad, or a lot of it sad. But the sugar reminds us of how sweet it is that Jesus loves us, that he was willing to die for us. And so that goes in the bowl as well. And then you're going to beat this with a hand mixer or whatever you have. You need to form stiff peaks. And so it will take a little while. The recipe says 12 to 15 minutes of beating on high speed. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that took about 10 minutes or so on a stand mixer. basically you want to form stiff peaks, and it's not coming down once you form it like that. So essentially stiff peaks. If we look in the bowl now, we can see that it's nice, bright, and white. And the white reminds us of Jesus' purity. But also I was thinking as it was beating, I was thinking about how at each baptism the priest or the deacon says, referring to the white baptismal garment that they're wearing, he says, bring this garment to the banquet feast unstained. So that is pure white. You know, one of the ways that we stain our baptismal garment during life is that when we sin. And so, well, how can it possibly happen to bring it unstained? But because of Jesus' sacrifice for us, and we are forgiven. And so each time we go to confession and we ask for forgiveness, that stain that we got on our garment, it's wiped away, and it becomes as white as this, it's not dough, whatever this is. But so the white reminds us of Jesus' purity, and that we have that same option to be as pure as that. And so we have this, and now we're going to add in those pecans that we crushed up before. So you're going to put them in, and you're going to just fold them in gently, because you don't want to get rid of all that air you just beat in with the beater. And so just a couple times around, just to combine it a little bit. Don't go too crazy, or else you'll end up with flat cookies, and we don't want that. And so we now have this, rocky soil, or rocky dough, I guess. And so you're going to take this, and onto a cookie sheet lined with wax paper or whatever you happen to have, you're going to drop them by teaspoons full, and just make some, can't do this one-handed, you'll make some mounds of cookies. So you can see here I have my 12 tombs. You can see the mounds of the pecans in it, and they're sort of bumpy and rocky. And so we can think about it as the tomb that Jesus was laid in. And so we're just going to take this and put it in our oven, which has been preheated to 300 degrees. We're going to stick them in there. Quickly close the door, and then we're going to turn the oven off. And then if you have kids in your house, or you like to be extra tactile, you're going to take some tape, and you're going to seal your oven, just as the tomb was sealed with the rock. We're going to seal off our oven. And then wait. And waiting is not easy, as we all know. If you have kids in your house, you can point out about, it might be a little sad that we have to wait. But imagine about Jesus' disciples who had to wait. They had to place Jesus in the tomb and walk away, and they were sad. And so sometimes we're sad too, but we hold on to hope. So traditionally when families would make these cookies, you would put them in the oven at night, turn off the oven, and then go away. And the next morning when you would get up, you would open the oven and see what had happened. So through the magic of video, hopefully the next scene you'll see is me taking the cookies out. Okay, so theoretically this has been overnight, but you can do it in about 3 or 3.5 hours, and so that's what I did in this case. Since the time I put them in the oven and turned the oven off, it's been 3 hours. If you had the extra time, it will just help it to be able to do it longer. And also the tape actually helped me a lot from opening it without thinking, or opening it to check on things. And so I'd suggest that if you're in the kitchen, to keep something over just to remind you. And so we'll open up the oven. Very exciting. Let's see. I have 12 tombs and a little bit of cracking on some, which doesn't matter. But so theoretically, when we open one up, we'll see the hollow center. Oops, I just crushed it. Well, anyhow, when you're carefully opening up, you can see that there's empty places inside it, and so it's to remind us that the tomb was empty when it came to the Sunday of the resurrection. The tomb was empty, and so I hope that you have some fun if you're up for trying this out. It's definitely worth it, and that's about it. Have a great day.